Speaking of ideas and wanting and desires, where does social media fit into all of this? Comes up in pretty much every conversation I have because it's a big part of creators' lives now and photographers' lives and filmmakers' lives. It's some people choose not to use it, but most of the time we understand that it's a necessary evil. And I know it is in your industry as well. I'm thinking more in society in general. How do you kind of see social media in terms of the good and the bad, and how one being an educated person in the West, how should we use it as a tool for good?
I say social media comes into your environment, right? It's your digital environment. So if we understand that environment's going to be one of the biggest things that affects us, we want to be very intentional about how we choose to interact with that thing. So I think that's the first thing, right? Social media, I'm very, very intentional. I was on a coaching call a couple of days ago. One of the guys asked me how, I lost my phone for 2 days in Barcelona. And he was like, it was the best 2 days of my life. It's like, well, why is that? Because I was present. I didn't have any distractions. Now I have my phone back. I'm noticing it creep back in. That's interesting, right? What are you doing on your phone? Going on social media for 3, 4 hours a day. Why? I just get sucked into it. Okay. So if you're a creator, you're probably going to need to be on social media in some way, right? Just because that's the world we live in. So first of all, just come to acceptance with that, right? Because anything you resist persists, right? And so if you're constantly thinking like social media is bad, social media is this, then of course there's always going to be this like tension between it, right? For me personally, it's just figuring out what that relationship looks like. So for me, my business was selling social media essentially, right? I was like, as a marketing agency. And so I learned very, very quickly that the best drug dealers don't get high off their own supply. And so if you're sharing what your craft is on social media, you have to look at yourself as a producer. You have to look at yourself as a producer of social media and not a consumer. And you have to look at it like a business tool. And that's really the difference. It's going from being that consumer to that producer. Because now the way I look at social media is just that. Like if you go on my phone, I can show you it after. It's empty screen. There's no apps apart from 4, which I use every single day. All the other ones are hidden or deleted. If you go on my Instagram, everything is muted completely. So nothing's popping up at me. Why is that? Well, if you're going on there with the best intentions to share your work, guess what? You're going to get sucked in because they've spent billions of dollars making sure you're going to get sucked in. So again, why fight that? Just make it easier for yourself, right? Just clear everything out. It's like you start with a blank canvas for a reason when you create a new piece of art. If there's all stuff over it, you can't create on top of it, right? It's the same with social media. You create that blank canvas first. And again, it's like money. It's not good or bad. It's just a tool. Social media is not good or bad. It's just a tool. My social media is super positive. I only have good experiences at 99.9% of the time. Most of it's my girlfriend sending me, dog videos and cat videos, right? Which I love. Um, so I'd say that's the most important thing. It's not. I wouldn't even call it a necessary evil, because again, it's looking at it with a negative connotation. Is there plenty of people? Is it used to spread evil? Yeah, for sure. Is it used to spread good? Yeah, for sure. It's how do you want to interact with it? Because wherever you put your attention, wherever you put your energy, is what will create more of it, right? Um, some of the best things all of my closest friends I've met on social media. I met Maggie through a friend on social media, so I'm so grateful for social media. And you get to choose your own beliefs, and that's the belief I get to choose because it's the belief that serves me.
Yeah, I think if I was to choose, or if I was to remember the bad stuff that I've taken from social media compared to the good stuff, like you said, I've met so many amazing people through social media and been inspired as a photographer, like seeing other artists. Oh, I wouldn't be able to see that. I'd have to go to every gallery in the world, and even then, I'd probably touch 1% of the photographers. So if I was to think about it like that, I kind of remember the bad stuff. You know, I know I've had bad experiences, whether that's people giving me bad experiences or me taking them. Um, I wouldn't be able to remember, but I remember all the good stuff. So I think that's a good way to frame it for sure.
No light without dark. There's no dark without light. It's our responsibility to choose how we engage with everything, right? That's on us. No one teaches you that though. That's the problem. We're all still the guinea pigs, really, in
We
the grand
really
scheme
are.
of it.
Yeah.
So
If you think about the school curriculum these days, it's still so antiquated. You don't get taught social media ethics. You don't get taught the value of money, which I think is just blows my mind. You don't get taught about other cultures, really, like travel to other cultures and education in that respect. You don't get taught so many important things. You don't get taught about mental health. You don't really get taught about physical health. You just have to go and
yeah.
run around a gym, you know? It's just weird. Anyway, let's not talk about education. Is there anything that you want to touch upon that we haven't kind of discussed? We've put the world to rights. We've solved everything. Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
I'd say the last thing, just building off of what you just said, mental health. It's really interesting the time we live in right now. If you look at men under the age of 45 in the Western world, the biggest killer of men under 45 is themselves from suicide. So that's the world we currently live in, right? And so to me, really got a responsibility to look at that and why that is happening. And I think there's so many reasons why. I think loneliness is a big one. I think so many men are lonely, men and women.
So many men.
But it's just loneliness, right? That's why porn is the most viewed thing on the internet. All this stuff is, I think men have lost their role in society with the rise of masculinity in women, which all for women's empowerment and equality, all of that, but it's kind of left men a little bit roleless and confused in a way. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I don't think many people have talked about a solution to this for men. Like some people, like the Andrew Tates, have said, go back to women being in the kitchen and, that's the solution. Okay, great. Like, sure. I think we're moving into a time now where people like us actually who are moving across the world, doing things differently, are kind of paving the way for what that looks like for men and how we just live as a society. And I think that what's really important is for men to be able to understand your roles, your worth, and to stay true to your masculine values, what your desires are as well, right? And but also for women to be able to say, yeah, actually, I do want to go and make money. I do want to have freedom, but actually, I also really want to have a family, and I also really want to have kids. And how do we then like evolve to both connect that together? I think is a really important thing. And I think because we haven't figured that out on a mainstream level yet, I think that's a big part of why there's this mental health crisis and an epidemic. And so if anyone is going through that right now, whether it's personally or in a relationship, I just think it's a really important thing to consider. And I think the best thing men can do is, just as a practical thing, is just find other men to just be able to talk openly with. It's so important, powerful, and healing for men to be able to have open, vulnerable conversations. And that doesn't mean being emotional and complaining and whatever. It just means being honest. And if you're such a big, strong alpha male man, why are you afraid of your own emotions, right?